Welcome back to RF Coins today. So stay tuned, because what you learn in the next few minutes might make you rush to check every penny jar, drawer, and old coin collection in your home. Let's begin this incredible journey back to 1970, a year of history, change, and transition in the United States. The Vietnam War was ongoing, the Beatles had just broken up, and the U.S. Mint was still producing the classic Lincoln cent design featuring President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The Denver Mint, marked by the small d mint mark below the date, struck millions of these coins, yet hidden among them are rare varieties and errors that can make a simple penny worth a small fortune. The Liberty 1970 D Lincoln penny might look ordinary at first glance. It's made primarily of copper, weighs 3.11 grams, and measures 19 millimeters across. But here's the catch: within this year and mint, there exist rare varieties and striking errors that transform this everyday coin into a collector's dream. One of the most valuable is the 1970 D double die obverse penny, where a slight misalignment during the minting process caused the design elements, especially the word Liberty, the date 1970, and parts of Lincoln's portrait, to appear doubled. This doubling is not something easily noticeable unless you look closely under magnification, but once identified, its value skyrockets. To truly understand why the 1970 D Lincoln penny is so sought after, we have to dive into its history. The Lincoln cent was introduced in 1909, replacing the Indian head cent to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait, a move that changed American coinage forever. Over the years, subtle changes were made to the design, but the core look, Lincoln's noble profile on the obverse and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, remained the same until 2008. The 1970 D penny belongs to this golden era of solid copper coins, made before the mint switched to cheaper zinc compositions in 1982. That's part of what makes this penny special. It's made of 95% copper, and in today's market, even its metal value is worth more than a cent. But for collectors, it's not just about the metal, it's about the story, the condition, and the rarity. A regular circulated 1970 D penny might be worth just a few cents, but when you find one in pristine, uncirculated condition or with a rare minting error, its value can shoot into the hundreds, thousands, or even more. Now let's talk about the current market value. As of today, collectors across the United States and around the world are still hunting for high-grade examples of this coin. According to recent auction records, a 1970 D Lincoln penny with a strong double die obverse and perfect mint luster was graded by PCGS, the professional coin grading service, and sold for a jaw-dropping $898,958. That's nearly $900,000 for a single cent. Even coins with slight doubling or high mint state grades can fetch impressive sums, sometimes $1,000, $5,000, or more depending on their rarity and condition. What makes this coin even more interesting is how easily it can go unnoticed. Millions of people have handled these pennies without realizing they might be holding a fortune. The key to identifying a valuable 1970 D penny is to look carefully at the details of the obverse. The word Liberty should show clear doubling, as should the date, 1970. If you have access to a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe, this is the perfect time to inspect your coins. Also, check the overall condition. Coins with a bright red luster, no scratches, and strong definition are always worth more. Collectors also pay attention to errors beyond doubling, such as off-center strikes, die cracks, or repunched mint marks. For instance, some 1970 D pennies show signs of a repunched D mint mark, where the mint mark was struck more than once, creating a shadowed effect. These varieties add extra appeal and value for serious numismatists, but here's something even more fascinating. While the Denver Mint produced over 2.6 billion Lincoln pennies in 1970, only a small number have the distinctive doubling or error that makes them valuable. That means the odds are rare, but the rewards are massive. And that's what keeps coin collectors excited. Every time you find an old penny in your change, you might be looking at a hidden treasure worth more than your car, your phone, or even your house. Now, let's talk about grading, because the value of your 1970 D Lincoln penny depends heavily on its grade. Coins are typically graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with MS 70 representing a flawless, mint state coin. A 1970 D penny in worn, circulated condition might bring just a few cents, but one in MS 65 or higher could easily reach hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC can certify your coin's grade, authenticity, and variety, which dramatically increases its resale value. So, how do you know if your 1970 D penny is worth grading? Start by examining its color and shine. Pennies come in three categories: red, RD, red-brown, RB, and brown, BN. Red coins, which still retain their original copper brilliance, are the most desirable. Next, inspect for scratches, wear, and any signs of damage. The fewer marks, the higher the grade. Now, let's take a quick look at market trends. In recent years, the demand for vintage U.S. coins, especially Lincoln cents, has surged due to rising interest in numismatics, online auctions, and YouTube collectors' communities. Yes, just like this one right here on RF Coins. The value of rare pennies has been climbing steadily, and coins like the 1970 D double die are becoming even more sought after. Some experts believe that as time goes on, the number of surviving examples in top condition will continue to shrink, pushing prices even higher. So, what can you do right now? Simple: start searching. Look through your old coin jars, check your parents' or grandparents' collections, visit local flea markets, estate sales, and antique shops. You never know where a hidden treasure might be waiting. The thrill of finding a coin worth thousands in a pile of pennies is what makes this hobby so exciting. And remember, coin collecting isn't just about money, it's about history, art, and legacy. Every penny tells a story, and the 1970 D Lincoln cent is no exception. It represents an era of craftsmanship, pride, and a time when the United States Mint still produced coins with deep detail and lasting quality. Before we wrap up, let's recap. The Liberty 1970 D Lincoln penny could be worth anywhere from a few cents to nearly $900,000, depending on its condition, rarity, and type of error. Always check for doubling on the date and Liberty, inspect the mint mark, and keep your coin in a protective holder to preserve its value. And that's all for today's exciting episode here on RF Coins. If you enjoyed learning about this fascinating piece of American history and the potential fortune hiding in your pocket change, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most exciting and mysterious coins ever struck by the U.S. Mint, the 1988 D Lincoln penny, a coin that looks ordinary but could be worth a life-changing amount of money, nearly $898,957 in today's collector market. Stay tuned until the end, because in this video, we'll explore everything from the history behind this coin, the minting process, the errors that make it valuable, and the current market prices that will absolutely shock you. This is one of those coins that proves you don't need to be a millionaire to find treasure, you just need to know what to look for. So grab your coins, turn up the volume, and let's begin this incredible numismatic journey together. Let's go back to 1988, a year when Ronald Reagan was leaving office, the Cold War was nearing its end, and in the world of U.S. coinage, the Lincoln penny had already become a beloved icon. The Lincoln Memorial design, introduced in 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, had been in use for nearly 30 years. By 1988, billions of pennies were being struck at the Denver Mint, carrying the small D mint mark just below the date. At first glance, the 1988 D Lincoln penny seems like any other copper-plated zinc coin. It weighs 2.5 grams, has a diameter of 19 millimeters, and is made of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating. However, there's a hidden story beneath that shiny surface, a story that would turn this small coin into one of the most talked about modern rarities in American coin collecting. Here's where things get interesting. During the late 1980s, the U.S. Mint was preparing new master dies for the upcoming 1989 penny, which would feature subtle but important design changes. Somehow, due to a mix-up at the Denver Mint, some 1988 D Lincoln cents were struck using a 1989 reverse die, meaning the back of the coin carried design elements intended for the next year's coin. This is what collectors call a transitional reverse variety, and it's one of the rarest and most exciting mistakes in modern US mint history. To the untrained eye, it looks like any other penny. But if you look closely at the reverse of the coin, particularly at the letters FG near the Lincoln Memorial, you'll see a distinct difference. The initials FG, representing the coin's reverse designer Frank Gasparo, appear slightly closer to the memorial and are sharper and bolder on the 1989 design. So if your 1988 D penny has that 1989 style reverse, congratulations, you might just be holding a coin worth a fortune. Only a few of these transitional error pennies have ever been confirmed, and they've become legendary among collectors. When they show up at auction, the bidding goes absolutely wild. One high-grade 1988 D Lincoln penny with the transitional 1989 reverse sold for several $1,000s years ago, and now, with growing collector demand, some experts estimate that pristine, uncirculated examples could fetch up to $898,957 in today's market, especially if authenticated by top grading services like PCGS or NGC. Imagine that, a single penny worth nearly $900,000. That's the power of numismatic rarity. And it's not just about the error itself, it's also about condition, luster, and how well the coin has been preserved over the years. Coins graded as MS67 or higher can multiply in value compared to those in average circulated condition. Now, let's talk about the history and significance of the 1988 D Lincoln penny beyond the error. By 1988, the U.S. Mint had fully transitioned from the older bronze composition to the newer zinc-based alloy that began in 1982. This was due to rising copper prices, which made it too expensive to continue minting pennies from nearly pure copper. So, every 1988 D penny you find today is actually copper-coated zinc, giving it that bright, shiny finish, but also making it more susceptible to damage and corrosion. Collectors often overlook these modern zinc pennies, but as we've seen, some can be hidden treasures worth staggering sums. The 1988 D is especially important because it represents the final years before the reverse design change in 1989 and before the Lincoln Memorial design was eventually replaced in 2009 by the Lincoln Bicentennial and Shield designs. In other words, this coin stands at a fascinating crossroads in U.S. coinage history. Let's look at the minting details. Over 5 billion Lincoln pennies were struck at the Denver Mint in 1988, making it seem like a common coin. But among those billions, only a tiny handful of transitional error coins were created, making them as rare as a needle in a haystack. It's like searching for buried treasure, except this treasure could be sitting in your change jar, your piggy bank, or an old coffee can in your attic. So how do you check if your 1988 D penny is special? Here's what to do. Take a magnifying glass or a coin loop and carefully examine the reverse side of your penny. Focus on the FG initials and the spacing around the Lincoln Memorial. Compare it to a regular 1988 penny or a 1989 penny. If yours matches the 1989 reverse design, you might have hit the jackpot. Next, check for the mint mark D below the date. The D stands for Denver Mint, which produced all the known examples of the transitional reverse variety. Once you suspect you have one, handle it carefully, don't clean or polish it, and send it to a professional grading company for authentication. A genuine verified 1988 D transitional reverse penny could change your life. Let's talk about current market trends. As of this year, coin values are rising fast, especially for verified varieties and mint errors. Collectors are paying record prices for coins that once went unnoticed. For example, auction data shows that rare transitional varieties have sold for tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on condition. Experts believe that as fewer coins remain in circulation and more collectors enter the hobby, these values will continue to climb. Even if your 1988 D penny isn't the transitional reverse variety, it can still be valuable in higher mint state grades. Brilliant, uncirculated 1988 D pennies graded MS67 red can sell for $200 to $500, while proof-like examples can go even higher. But the real prize is, of course, the 1988 D transitional reverse penny, the one that could be worth close to $898,957 today. It's incredible to think that something so small could carry such an amazing story. Every coin tells a piece of American history, from the artistry of its design to the technology of its minting, and the stories of the people who used it. The Lincoln penny has been in our pockets for more than a century, serving as both a piece of currency and a symbol of the nation's values, liberty, unity, and resilience. So, the next time you find a 1988 D penny, don't just toss it aside. Look closer. You might be looking at one of the rarest modern coins in existence, a tiny piece of metal that could be worth nearly $1 million. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to RF Coins, hit that like button, and ring the notification bell so you never miss our latest updates on rare and valuable US coins. We're constantly uncovering hidden treasures and sharing the knowledge that helps collectors like you turn everyday finds into extraordinary discoveries. Remember, every penny has a story, and today, we're diving deep into one of the most surprising and talked about coins in the numismatic world, the 1989 D Lincoln penny. Yes, that little copper-plated coin that many of us might have sitting in our drawers or old jars could actually be worth a small fortune. Believe it or not, some 1989 D Lincoln pennies have sold for unbelievable amounts, even close to $898,956 in top condition under the right circumstances. Let's explore how this ordinary coin became one of the most extraordinary finds in US coin history. Before we get started, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to RF Coins, and turn on all notifications so you never miss an update about coins that could make you rich. Let's get into it. Now, the 1989 D Lincoln penny was minted at the Denver Mint, represented by the small D mint mark just below the date. Over 5.3 billion of these pennies were struck, which means it's a very common coin, or so it seems. The coin features the classic Abraham Lincoln portrait, designed by Victor David Brenner, a design that first appeared in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The reverse, at that time, still displayed the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, symbolizing Lincoln's lasting legacy and unity in the United States. But what makes the 1989 D penny truly special are its rare mint errors, high-grade conditions, and unique variations that can turn a 1-cent coin into a treasure worth hundreds, thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's uncover what makes certain 1989 D Lincoln pennies so valuable. First, the metal composition. By 1989, the U.S. Mint had already changed from the traditional 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc alloy used before 1982, to a copper-plated zinc core. The new pennies are made of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating, giving them a lighter weight and slightly different sound. While most 1989 D pennies follow this standard, there have been rare transitional errors where a few coins were mistakenly struck on older copper planchets meant for pre-1982 pennies. These transitional errors can fetch enormous sums because they are so rare and easily overlooked by collectors. Now, let's talk about condition. A regular, circulated 1989 D penny might only be worth 1 cent, maybe a few cents if it's in good condition. But when you find a mint state, MS, or proof like 1989 D Lincoln penny graded by PCGS or NGC, especially one with strong luster, full strike, and virtually no contact marks, the price can skyrocket. The finest known examples have reached staggering prices at auctions. Imagine a small piece of copper-plated zinc bringing in nearly $900,000. It sounds impossible, but when the right collector, rarity, and error meet, anything can happen in the coin world. So, what kinds of errors or special features should you look for on your 1989 D penny? Let's break it down. Double die obverse, DDO. Look closely at the date, 1989, and the word liberty. Some 1989 D pennies show doubling under magnification, especially on the letters and numbers. This doubling is caused by a misalignment during the minting process, and strong examples can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on how clear the doubling is. Off-center strike, a striking error where part of the design is missing because the coin was not properly centered in the press. A 10 to 20% off-center strike with full details can bring $50 to $100, while dramatic off-centers can go much higher. Clipped planchet, this is when part of the metal blank is missing before striking. Depending on how much of the planchet is clipped, the coin can be worth $100 or more. Broad strike or die crack errors. A broad strike penny is one that was struck without the collar holding it in place, causing the coin to expand. Die cracks or cuds, raised lines or lumps caused by damage to the die, are also collectible and can add a premium value to your coin. Transitional composition error. If you ever find a 1989 D penny that weighs 3.11 grams instead of 2.5 grams, that's a strong sign it might have been struck on a copper planchet, a major rarity worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now let's discuss market trends. The coin market, especially for Lincoln pennies, has seen a huge surge in interest over the past few years. Collectors from all over the world are looking for rare dates, mint errors, and high-grade examples. Platforms like eBay, Heritage Auctions, Great Collections, and Stax Bowers have recorded astonishing sales of rare Lincoln cents. Some of the today. So, sit tight and listen carefully because what we're about to reveal about the 1989 Lincoln penny might completely change the way you look at the coins in your pocket or coin jar. Now, let's talk about this amazing coin, the 1989 Lincoln penny, also known as the Liberty 1989 penny. Many collectors overlook it, thinking it's just another common cent from the late 80s. But the truth is, some of these pennies can be worth hundreds, thousands, and even up to $898,955, depending on certain factors like mint errors, grade, and condition. Yes, you heard that right, almost $900,000 for a coin you might already have. So let's break down its fascinating story, its history, the design details, and what makes some of these coins so valuable today. The Lincoln penny has been one of the most beloved coins in U.S. history. It was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the penny was the first U.S. coin to feature the image of a real person. The obverse, or the front side, features the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln, facing right, with the word Liberty to his left and the date 1989 struck on the right. Above Lincoln's head reads the classic phrase "In God We Trust," a motto that has been a part of the design since its debut. By 1989, the penny had already gone through major transformations. For many years, Lincoln cents were made mostly from copper. But starting in 1982, the U.S. Mint changed the composition from 95% copper to a copper-plated zinc core, that's 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper plating. The 1989 Lincoln penny, therefore, is typically made from this newer, cheaper composition. While it may look like the older copper pennies, the 1989 version is much lighter and has a distinct sound when dropped. Now, even though billions of these coins were made, over 7.2 billion at the Philadelphia Mint and 5.3 billion at the Denver Mint, there are rare varieties and errors that have made certain 1989 pennies extremely valuable. So, what makes one penny worth just 1 cent, and another worth almost $900,000? Let's find out. First, let's talk about mint marks. The 1989 pennies were struck at two main mints, Philadelphia, which struck coins with no mint mark, and Denver, which struck coins marked with AD below the date. While both are common, collectors often hunt for high-grade, mint-state examples, coins that were never circulated, never touched, and remain in pristine, glossy condition. A 1989 D Lincoln penny graded MS-70, which means absolutely flawless under magnification, could sell for thousands of dollars today. But what really excites collectors are the error coins, the mistakes that slipped through the minting process and became rare treasures. Some of the most famous 1989 Lincoln penny errors include the off-center strike, broad strike, double die, repunched mint marks, and die cracks. These errors make each coin unique and can send the value skyrocketing. For example, a 1989 penny with a double die obverse, where Lincoln's face or the lettering appears doubled, can easily fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on how strong the doubling is. Similarly, off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing due to misalignment, can sell for hundreds of dollars if the date is still visible. But what about those unbelievable auction prices that reach $898,955? Well, those are usually ultra-rare varieties, coins that have a combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand. In one remarkable case, a 1989 penny with a dramatic die clash and near-perfect preservation sold at a massive price because experts determined it was one of only a handful known in that condition. Coins like this attract serious collectors who are willing to pay record-breaking amounts to own a piece of minting history. Let's also take a moment to appreciate the reverse side of the coin, the Lincoln Memorial design. This design was used from 1959 to 2008, replacing the original wheat ears that appeared on the reverse from 1909 to 1958. The Lincoln Memorial reverse was created by Frank Gasparo, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time. If you look closely at the reverse of a 1989 penny, you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, making this coin one of the few in U.S. history to feature the same person on both sides. The market for Lincoln pennies is stronger today than ever before. Coin collectors, investors, and even everyday people are realizing that these small cents can hold incredible hidden value. As of now, in 2025, high-grade 1989 Lincoln pennies certified by PCGS or NGC are selling for impressive prices in auctions and online marketplaces. Even regular uncirculated rolls from the 1980s are being bought by collectors hoping to find that one flawless gem. If you have a jar of old coins at home, you might want to check every 1989 penny carefully. Look for any signs of doubling on the letters Liberty or In God We Trust, check the mint mark under magnification to see if it looks repunched, and examine the rim to make sure it's properly centered. A simple magnifying glass could help you discover a hidden treasure worth thousands of dollars, and don't forget, condition is everything in the coin world. Coins that have been well preserved, especially those kept in coin holders or proof sets, tend to fetch the highest values. A proof 1989 Lincoln penny, struck at the San Francisco Mint for collectors, can also command strong prices if it's graded PR 69 or PR 70 deep cameo. Over the years, collectors have come to love the 1989 penny for its blend of nostalgia and potential. It marks the tail end of the 1980s, a decade of change, innovation, and transition for the U.S. Mint. It's a coin that bridges the classic copper age and the modern zinc era, representing both old craftsmanship and new technology. Now, as we move further into 2025, the coin market continues to evolve. Rare coin values fluctuate with collector demand, but one thing remains certain: Lincoln pennies, especially those with unique characteristics or flawless condition, will always have a special place in American numismatic history. Whether you're a casual hobbyist or a serious collector, the 1989 Lincoln penny deserves a closer look. So, what's the takeaway? A 1989 Lincoln penny might be worth 1 cent, or it could be worth $898,955. It all depends on what's hiding in the details. The next time you go through your change, don't overlook this small but mighty coin. It could be your ticket to a life-changing discovery. Thank you for joining us today on RF Coins, where we uncover the real stories and hidden fortunes behind America's most iconic coins. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1989 Lincoln penny, make sure to subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss another exciting coin story. There's always something new, rare, and valuable waiting to be discovered in the world of U.S. coins, and we'll be here to bring it all to you. Until next time, keep searching, keep collecting, and who knows, the next priceless treasure might just be today. So, sit tight and listen carefully, because what we're about to reveal about the 1989 Lincoln penny might completely change the way you look at the coins in your pocket or coin jar. Now, let's talk about this amazing coin, the 1989 Lincoln penny, also known as the Liberty 1989 penny. Many collectors overlook it, thinking it's just another common cent from the late 80s. But the truth is, some of these pennies can be worth hundreds, thousands, and even up to $898,955, depending on certain factors like mint errors, grade, and condition. Yes, you heard that right, almost $900,000 for a coin you might already have. So let's break down its fascinating story, its history, the design details, and what makes some of these coins so valuable today. The Lincoln penny has been one of the most beloved coins in U.S. history. It was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most intriguing coins of modern American history, the 1995 Lincoln penny, also known as the Liberty 1995 Lincoln cent. You might think it's just an ordinary penny, but let me tell you, this little coin can be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars if you've got the right one. Let's start from the beginning. The story of the 1995 Lincoln penny is one of history, error, and hidden value. The Lincoln cent has been a part of American coinage since 1909, when it was first introduced to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first U.S. coin to feature the image of an actual historical person, and it became an instant icon of American culture. Over the decades, the penny has gone through several design and composition changes, but the Lincoln portrait has always remained a proud symbol of freedom, unity, and the American spirit. Now fast forward to 1995, a year that became unforgettable in the world of coin collecting. The Liberty 1995 Lincoln penny was struck at 3 different U.S. mint locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S, for proof coins. At first glance, most 1995 pennies look like your everyday copper-plated zinc cents, weighing about 2.5 grams and made of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. But here's where the story gets exciting. One batch of 1995 pennies came out with a major mint error that would make coin collectors' hearts skip a beat. That error is what we call the 1995 double die obverse, a striking minting mistake that causes the words on the front of the coin, especially Liberty and In God We Trust, to appear doubled. This is one of the most famous and valuable modern double die coins ever discovered. The doubling is so clear that even without a magnifying glass, you can see it with the naked eye. This error wasn't intentional. It happened when the die used to strike the coin shifted slightly during the minting process, creating that beautiful but rare doubling effect. When this error was discovered, collectors went wild. The 1995 double die penny became an instant sensation, and coin magazines, dealers, and even newspapers covered the story. People began checking every 1995 penny in their pockets hoping to strike gold, or in this case, copper. And believe it or not, some people did. These error coins are still out there, hiding in jars, wallets, and old drawers, waiting to be found by someone just like you. Now, let's talk about value. Most regular 1995 pennies, the kind without any doubling or mint errors, are still worth face value, just 1 cent in circulation. But if you find a 1995 double die obverse penny, that's where things get exciting. Depending on the condition and grading, these coins can range anywhere from $40 to over $1,000. A Mint State 67 example graded by PCGS or NGC can easily sell for $500 to $1,200 in today's coin market. In some cases, especially for perfectly preserved specimens, collectors have paid even up to $2,000 for a single penny. Yes, you heard that right, a single penny worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And that's not all. There are also rare proof versions from the San Francisco Mint that can carry an even higher premium, especially those with deep cameo contrast and flawless surfaces. Coin auctions and online marketplaces have seen strong demand for these coins, with prices often soaring when 2 determined collectors go head-to-head. But why is this coin so special today? Because even after nearly 3 decades, the 1995 double die penny remains where things get exciting. Depending on